Appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dion's Daily Dose. A couple of things. Number one, we are waiting on Mr. Kinsner. It is not Kinsner, it is Kinsner, I have been told. I was sent Kinsner by my assistant, my executive producer, whatever you want to call him. And I apologize for my hair. I was out riding my motorcycle until right before the show, which is another reason why the graphic didn't go up that early. So Darin he was on prior to the show. His computer locked up with some sort of computer warning, or blue screen warning. So he texted me, he's in the process of restarting his computer and getting back on. So hopefully we can get him going and everything. Hang tight for a minute. I'm going to check on him in just a second, and we'll see how he's going. But he's running for sheriff in Lawrence County. Now, there he is. He just showed up. All right. So he is back. Good. Excellent timing, Darin. So, yeah, I guess I should have realized when he got on. His name, again, is Kinsner, not Kinsner, Kinsner. So thank you, as always, for joining me. And we're going to bring him on. We're going to give him his 2 minutes so he can tell you about himself and why you should vote for him. And then we'll get to the fun questions. So here we go. Darin, the floor is all yours.
I appreciate it, Dan. I appreciate you allowing me to be on your podcast, and everybody out watching. Hope you having a great evening. I am Darin Kinsner. I'm the Libertarian candidate for Lawrence County Sheriff here in the south central part of the state. Capital seat is Bedford, Indiana. And I am a 99 graduate, high school, and I have been in management for more than 20 years, run my own company, Justice Services of Indiana. I'm the director of the Interstate Bail Enforcement Apprehension Taskforce. We travel the country and apprehend fugitives that are on the run from justice. Specifically on bonds. I am a licensed bail bondsman in the state of Indiana as well. And I served as a recruiter for the United States Army. I am the current assistant chief of the Pleasant Run Fire, current vice president of the Pleasant Run Fire Board as well. Decided to run for sheriff because it's time that we take back our Constitution. In Lawrence County, law enforcement officers on a daily basis are pulling people over, violating their constitutional rights just so they can make an arrest, specifically on, say, things like small amounts of marijuana, victimless crime. We got to stop that. And that's why I decided to run for sheriff. A few years back, I ran a campaign. My mom was actually, she was sick with stage 4 cancer. And she was in the hospital the last 58 days of her life. She passed away in 2017. The last 58 days of her life, she suffered in pain, and she couldn't eat. She couldn't get the pain to go away. She didn't have an appetite, and not to mention the doctor's name, but one of the doctors said, look, if you could get your hands on marijuana, I would recommend that she uses that product. Talked with candidates for the Indiana Senate at that time, and different people, and it just doesn't seem like Indiana wanted to go that route. So I watched my mom suffer for 58 days before she passed away on me. I watched her every single day in the hospital. I never left. And I've met people along the campaign trail and throughout my life that said that they got off opioids and methamphetamines because of the use of marijuana. It got them away from it. They were addicted to opiates. I met a guy just a couple of days ago. Actually, matter of fact, it was yesterday at a rally in Bloomington that he was an addict on opioids for 10 years, more than 10 years, and he's been sober now 7 years because of marijuana. So we know the products are out there, and we're hoping that we can get more people to understand that. But the biggest problem in Lawrence County is the opioids and the methamphetamines. We're arresting several hundred people every year for possession of marijuana. I believe the foundation of a home the home being built starts with the foundation, and I believe the foundation of government is our local government. And we need more people like Ryan Mears in Indianapolis, who's the prosecutor there. We need more sheriffs to get on board to say enough is enough. 94% of accusers want marijuana to be legalized. So I am a pro-cannabis candidate. But also at the same time, I want to stop violating constitutional rights. We're violating the Fourth Amendment every single day in the state of Indiana, and our current prosecutor is continuing to go ahead and prosecute those charges, even though he knows that they violated constitutional rights to get those charges made. And that's another reason why I'm running. And if I'm elected sheriff, nobody will be going to the county jail for those small misdemeanors anymore. They won't be going for the possessions. I will stand my ground to keep them out of the county jail. And that's one of the reasons why I want to give them a second option this year, because Lawrence County doesn't give second options. The Democratic Party is near dead in Lawrence County. So the only option you get is the Republican candidate, and that's the only option. And that's 2.0 to the current administration, and we don't need that in Lawrence County. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you give me the opportunity, and hopefully I can be able to answer your questions the best I can.
All right. Awesome. So a little bit, I know you're not really familiar. I'm actually one of the very, very few Republican candidates that was endorsed by Indiana Normal. So I am a pro-cannabis candidate.
Awesome.
If I get elected this year, because I'm running again, then I'd be more than happy to make what headway I can in Indiana. We know that the current governor has stated that it won't be legal till it's federally legal. So hopefully the Senate will get off their ass and actually do something about it, since it passed the House this time.
That's the more right.
Yeah,
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's kind of dive in a little bit. What I like to do is I do what's called the rapid fire questions. And these are non-political in nature for the most part. They're just to kind of get to know you, right? So starting off, and this is really important to me. It may not be important to the average voter, but it's damned important to me. And it's, how do you like your steak?
How do I like what?
Your steak. How do you like your steak? Yes.
I eat them normally medium, sometimes medium well. But to be honest with you, I have an esophagus issue. So when I eat steak now, in the last couple of years, it just all of a sudden happened. I feel like I'm choking on it.
Okay.
I feel like I have a heart attack, so I don't eat steak much anymore.
Okay. See, now a medical issue is completely different. I can understand that. But for those people who choose to overcook their steak, I'm sorry. If you can't be trusted with steak, you can't be trusted in office. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right. So next, cats or dogs?
Well, I have both.
Okay, good man. If I was
going to pick one out of them, I would prefer my puppy that I have.
Oh, okay. What kind of puppy?
It is a Chihuahua, but he looks like a Great Dane. So you wouldn't think he was a Chihuahua. His legs are probably 17 inches long, but yet in reality, he is a Chihuahua, full-blooded. His name's Little Man.
Oh my God, that's kind of awesome, man. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so first of all, do you like professional sports or college sports?
Professional sports or college sports?
Yeah.
I would probably prefer to watch professional sports.
Okay, what's your favorite sport?
But in reality, I mean, it's the college kids that are really working for their degrees and everything. So it's better to watch college sports and support them.
And not to mention, I found that the rules are like less ridiculous with college sports. Like they actually come closer to giving a real performance. So what's your favorite sport?
I would say my favorite sport's probably baseball, but to be honest with you, I'm on the road every day, all day long, that I don't get a chance to sit and watch a whole lot of sports stuff. So I would say baseball would be my more favorite. Okay.
What's your favorite team? Who do you watch when you can?
If I can watch, it would probably be either Atlanta or Chicago.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What did you want to be when you were a little kid? The first thing you wanted to be when you grew up?
If my family was standing here with me, they would tell you that I wanted to be a law enforcement officer.
Okay. All right. I had, there's a LaPorte County sheriff's candidate. That's what he wanted to be from the moment he was formulating what he wanted to be, same thing. So that's pretty awesome that two very different areas. I mean, Lawrence County, first of all, a lot of my viewers are from up here, not all, but a lot of viewers are from Northwest Indiana. I'm going to show people on the map real quick where Lawrence County is for those that aren't aware. Let's see. Let's get this up real quick. Sorry, I had it, and then I was making sure that I had your ticker right. So I kind of. All right. Where is it?
It's somewhere right in the middle of that galaxy.
Yep. It's, as you can see, it's south, a little bit to the west, southwest of Indy, right? So here's Indianapolis right here, ladies and gentlemen. There is Lawrence County. Louisville's down here. So about halfway between Indianapolis and the Kentucky line. So what is it?
It's about the same distance going whether I go to Louisville or I go to Indy. It's about the same amount of time.
Oh, there you go. See, so halfway was a good call. All right. But that way, you don't have to look it up yourself. You know me, I like to do all the work for you. So, because I'm awesome like that. Okay. Back to the real question. So, what's your favorite thing about Lawrence County?
My favorite thing about Lawrence County is just the small town community. Okay.
That's much like up here. It's you can go like 2 minutes. You'll go from urban to just complete farmland and nothing but corn and cows and horses as far as the eye can see. All right. So the real important questions for the voters. You guys might not care whether he likes his steak cooked properly or not, but I do. I care. All right. I asked candidates to send in a couple of questions. This is one of the questions that he sent in to be asked, and I think it's a good question. And that is, other than what you've already mentioned, what makes you different from your opponents?
I'm not a lifelong career law enforcement officer. I haven't been patrolling and dealing with the people like that on a daily basis.
Okay.
I am the director of the IBEAT team, so I deal with fugitives and stuff,
mm-hmm.
But I'm not out there as a 25-year veteran doing the same thing, locking people in cages every day. I'm an outside source that is coming in with a fresh new look, a fresh new ideas and ways that we can run the Lawrence County Sheriff's Department in a more streamlined fashion to make it better for the community. And honestly, I'm the only one that wants to put public service back into the title of law enforcement.
Okay. All right. I don't know. We don't mention your opponent's names. I don't know who you're running against, but what do you think that's like a hindrance when the voters go? Like a lot of times these people that run for sheriff, they've been a law enforcement officer for many, many years, like you said. So they're kind of familiar with the systems. They're already familiar with the neighboring counties and towns, the police chief here, the sergeant there. Do you think it's a hindrance that you're not currently considered, I know you, like you said, the apprehension team, but a regular deputized officer? Or do you think that it's a positive coming in with a completely fresh perspective?
Well, I think it's a positive right off the bat. I think it's a positive for sure. But when people ask me out there on the campaign trail if how long I've been in law enforcement, I tell them, well, I'm not a sworn law enforcement officer. I'm a fugitive recovery agent. There's a big difference between the two. But I remind them to go back and look at the qualifications for sheriff. You have to be a citizen of the state, citizen of the county. You have to be the age limit. I believe it's 21 years of age. And those are the qualifications. So am I qualified to run? Absolutely. Am I experienced to do the work? Absolutely. I've worked with several neighboring counties in fugitive recovery, working with law enforcement agencies. I have nothing but good work ethic with these other counties. Lawrence County is one of the only counties that don't really go out and help us do what we need to do to get the fugitive off the streets. So, and we can't even get warrants from our local sheriff here.
Wait, really?
Warrants,
so they don't work with you. They won't help you. They won't do the things that you need them to do. No. So that's what I would guess. That's one of the reasons why you're running is to fix that. Okay. So let me ask you this. I got a number of questions, but we'll start with something pretty broad. You can make it as big or narrow as you want as far as your answer goes. But what would you change about the current department if elected?
What would I change about the current department?
Yeah, if you got elected.
I would go back to what I said earlier. I just a reminder is I would put public servant back into the title of law enforcement officer. Okay. We would be out in the community speaking to the community and working to help the community out. We would no longer be hidden behind bushes and underneath trees and behind corners of buildings where they couldn't see us. we would be able to be identified if an emergency is needed or emergency happens and you need an officer. You'll be able to recognize our cars because I plan to change the colors of the cars to where they're not ghost letters anymore. That's how I will stand out differently.
Okay, it's funny because that's actually one of my questions that I ask is what is your take on so-called unmarked or ghost lettered vehicles, the ones that are hard to see, unless you look at them from a certain angle. I'm going to tell you, I interviewed 2 candidates for LaPorte County Sheriff, and one was like, I don't hate them. They're not bad. The other one was like, yeah, I'll use the hell out of them. So it's interesting to get a different perspective and a different take. Someone that says, I'm not in favor of those. Now, their belief is that they would rather have any car than no car at all. But you're very much of you want them easily spotted, and you want citizens to know when a police officer, or should say deputy sheriff, is nearby, correct?
One of the most shared posts on my sheriff's page on Facebook is a picture that I posted showing the difference between a police car and a road pirate, as they would call it in the Urban Dictionary.
Okay.
A police car is identified by its unique colors. Europe and overseas is the best example of how they have their cars outfitted. People in those countries will walk right up to cops, law enforcement officers, have good rapport with them. They're not scared of them. They don't, they're not hiding from the law enforcement officers there. They know they're there to help. They know they're real public servants. But here in the United States, a lot of these law enforcement agencies are decorating these cars with ghost lettering, and that's what's called a road pirate, someone who just extorts and generates revenue for the state. And that's what we got to stop doing. We're not here to generate revenue for the state of Indiana. We're here to protect the citizens and uphold the laws, and that's what we need to focus on.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, so do you support camera enforcement, like those speed cameras that'll send you a ticket in the mail?
I don't support.
I figured I knew the answer to that, but
I don't. I'm not even a fan of their LPR readers, but LPRs can actually be a good thing sometimes. If you've got a Amber Alert going on and we have a license plate, we can insert that into an LPR. We'll be able to get an alert once that vehicle passes that camera. So I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay with red light cameras because I may loan you my vehicle today and you may run the stoplight. I'm getting the ticket for it, and I don't think that's fair justice.
Right. Okay. All right. I happen to agree with that personally, but it's not about what I think today. Okay. So here's one that I ask, and I think it's a really important question. So if elected sheriff, you'll be in charge of, I don't know what the budget is. I wasn't able to find it real quick, but I assume several $1 million for the Lawrence County Sheriff's Department on an annual basis. They're smaller than LaPorte County, but I think I don't know what the population is there. Do you know the Lawrence County budget?
So the population in Lawrence County is approximately around 47,000 people in Lawrence County as a county in whole. And
okay.
The budget there, one time I read 2.6 million. The other day, the current sheriff mentioned in an article that it's around 4.5, but I don't know how it jumped up $2 more million. And that's something that I would like to find that answer to.
Yeah, let's see here. Just out of curiosity. Okay, but my question is, okay, so this says in 2022, the budget will increase from 1.489 million to 1.658 million.
In Lawrence County?
Yeah, that's what it says. I don't know.
According to the Times Mail newspaper, when they and WBIW are news media outlets here, when they reported the new budget for 2022, it showed like 2.6 million. But the sheriff's saying somewhere around 4, so I don't know that answer.
Yeah, so I think there's several Lawrence counties. This may be a different one. Let's see here. Anyway, I can find it. It doesn't really matter. But my question is, how will you use, given the budget, because it's less of a budget than up here in LaPorte County because we have more people. We're closer to Chicago. Mm-hmm. We've got 2 bigger cities. We got Michigan City. We got LaPorte, both with over. Like Michigan City has over 30,000 people in it by itself. So given the limited budget, though, how will you use modern technology to improve the department?
Using modern technology to improve the department?
Yeah.
Can you give an example of what you mean? Elaborate a little bit more on
okay, so for example, license plate readers, like instant scanning technology, better computers, helicopter, things like that, drone program, stuff like that. Those are all answers that I've been given in the past. I don't know. I'm not running. But if elected, obviously technology has come so far. We used to have to put, like, I worked at Indiana State Prison. So I have kind of a law enforcement background. I know DOC is the redheaded stepchild, but still law enforcement. We would have to type up reports, back in the day. Police officers used to have to write on the notepads. Now we have technology that allows everything right in your pocket. You can pull out your phone, pull out your little PDA, send it in an email, have it auto print, stuff like that. So rather than having to go back to the station and type up a report, technology has improved that. So looking at the way that current technology has advanced, how can you improve the department better than it is currently?
Well, I go back to like LPRs. We do need probably more LPRs in our county. I don't want to use LPRs for the wrong reasons, though. And I know that they can tend to be used for the wrong reasons on the lines of, I just want to know where this guy is. So I'm going to search, see if he's went through my LPR lately.
Right.
Those types of things, more fingerprinting, iris scans, different things that can be done in reference to making sure that we remember who these violent felons are. So that way, if we have another issue where maybe have a picture of just their eyes or something, we'll be able to scan that possibly and be able to get a match in our database. I'd have to look more in the technology side of it once I'm able to be able to do that.
Right. I understand. Okay. What is one piece of equipment that you'd like to see your county department have? If price was no issue, like, for example, one of the candidates for LaPorte County said they'd love to have a helicopter up here. It would really help. I assume that's kind of out of the realm of possibility down there. But assuming price was no object, what's one piece of equipment that another answer that we got was rifle racks in the cars? Two very different answers, two very different price points, obviously. What's one piece of equipment that you'd love to see?
I like the idea of rifle racks in the cars. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
I would never support, even if we were a multi-billion-dollar county, I would never support a helicopter. I think that's going overboard, and we need to not worry about that. But again, that's technology that I would like to see. I would like to be able to look more into before I could give you a 100% definite answer on like what I would like to buy if I had unlimited funds. But the true reality is we don't have unlimited funds in Lawrence County, and I wouldn't even want to speak on a hypothetical.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Do you think it's important to have good relations with surrounding counties, and how can it be improved from what it is currently?
Well, I definitely think we need to have relationships with surrounding counties and even counties beyond that. We need to just work together on the same common goal of fighting to make sure that justice is made in Indiana and that people are following the law. And work with one another with what equipment you may have versus my county's equipment to help one another to make sure that we're upholding the laws and doing the right things for the public. It's just, that's where I'm at on that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. And this question actually goes back to the conversation that you had earlier. What you mentioned that you have problems currently with the current administration getting warrants, getting assistance. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but how do you think the relationship is with local departments? Like, for example, Bedford PD, the other little local departments, and what would you do to improve it currently?
Well, I definitely want to sit down with the leadership of the Bedford City Police, the Mitchell City Police, Olytic as well, and talk with them to let them know what I would like to see in Lawrence County. I'd like for us to come together and work together to make those goals, to be able to meet those goals. It will take some time because the law enforcement agencies in this county, they all kind of work the same they'll do whatever it takes to get the charge because it's a revolving door in Lawrence County. Right. It's a money scam that the court systems have going on down here. It's the same people in the newspaper every other day.
Right.
And when you read those articles, you find out the law enforcement agencies violated another constitutional right just to find that person, to get that person arrested. It's all about money. So I want to sit down and work with them and build a rapport with them that, look, we can do this right for the people. We can be public servants and get them out there in the communities to talk to those people even more. So that would be my first goal.
Okay. Let me dip into this a little bit. So you've mentioned the constitutional violations that happen, and as former correctional officer, I've seen it. I've seen examples of people that have been arrested that shouldn't have been arrested, but they're a minority. At least in the vast scheme of things, does it happen? Absolutely. With talking about that, do you think that if you won, that you would have problems with the people under you, like hearing what you said today and assuming that you're talking about the majority of officers and their respect?
Yeah, I'm definitely not talking about the majority of officers, but
Okay.
I've always said this, and I'll say it on here. It doesn't bother me. When a good officer arrests a bad officer, I'll believe there is good, and I do believe there's good officers out there, but they're not taking down the bad ones. So they need to start doing that. So when they hear me say things like they're violating constitutional rights, I'm not talking about a specific all of them. I'm talking about specifically those cases. And as sheriff, if elected, I want to be able to review our past current cases for the last 12 to 24 months. I want to see what violations may have taken place in those cases and be able to reach out to those families, reach out to the courts, and see what we can do to fix those issues. Because we can continuously be violating constitutional rights every day just to get the job done. I have a motto that says, if you can't do it legally, don't do it at all. Okay. And that goes to law enforcement, not to the criminals. It goes to law enforcement because criminals are already committing crimes. Law enforcement needs to stop doing that. And if I'm sheriff, whether they like that or not, they're going to listen to me because they work for me as my deputies. They're going to do their job correctly. And if not, then they're going to be finding new work.
Right. Okay. How is the hiring situation down there? One of the things we're facing up here in LaPorte County is the pay for officers. The starting pay up here is comparable to other counties, but with any degree of seniority, the gap gets bigger and bigger for surrounding counties. Porter County, St. Joseph County, I could name, multiple. But the point is, once you start getting just a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the road years of experience, you can make more by going next door. We just looked, and you can make $15,000 more by going just 10 minutes up the road up here. So we're having an issue right now with retention and hiring. Is that an issue down there, or is the pay structure pretty good for your area?
So they currently have, if I'm not wrong, it's I want to say 34 road officers total.
Okay.
Our pay is somewhere around, starting off pay would be somewhere around 17 something an hour. Okay. It's a little low than what it could be. Our neighboring county, Monroe, right north of us, probably pays a little bit better. But we got to work on that. We can work on raising pay as we lower the budget costs that we're spending every single year in Lawrence County. One example of $15,000 that I could cut immediately is the new thing that the current administration just decided they want to start giving law enforcement officers a $500 bonus just for passing their physical fitness test every year. Every year they get a $500 bonus just for passing their physical fitness test. That shouldn't be done. We shouldn't be taking taxpayer money and paying somebody for doing his job.
Okay.
We should be saying, look, you either pass your test and do this correctly, or you need to find a different field of work. I mean, we're paying them to pass tests. We shouldn't be doing that. So we can lower the budget and raise our income in certain areas. So there's other areas I want to work with to lower the budget, and if able to, we'll be able to raise our funds on the patrol officers, and other areas of the sheriff's department to be able to make the wages better.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm looking. I had seen it before. It looked like. Okay, so it looks like. Let me make sure this is for Lawrence County, Indiana. Does the Times Mail sound familiar?
That's our newspaper here.
Is it? Okay, I wanted to make sure because yeah, here it is, Bedford. So I'm going to actually put this on screen so we can look. If I find the right button, there it is. Okay, so this was actually from 2020, but it says county projects a budget decrease for 2021. Bedford. Estimate of all appropriated funds is 24. So basically right at 25 million compared to the 2020 figure of 25,036,000. So blah, 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 blah. Here we go. So it says Brad Bowe, veteran service officer, presented his office's budget for 2021, which shows a decrease from 51,716 in 2020 to 51,216 in 2021. The decrease comes in travel, patriotic observances, educational training, and office machines. These are various. So here we go. Incremental salary increases for deputy and second deputy. Are you in favor of increasing the pay for officers in general, or do you think that they're paid enough? This is not a specific.
I don't think they're paid enough overall. I think we can increase it, but it ain't something that we're going to be able to do immediately. We're going to have to work with finding ways to lower our budgets to get ourselves more in the more streamlined in the way it should work. And by doing that, we'll be able to free up the funds to be able to increase our salaries for our patrol officers. But that's going to take some time. It's not going to be done in the first 30 days or 60 days. But we're going to work on making that a goal to raise the funds for our officers. Okay,
so you are definitely in favor of a higher wage structure for officers in general.
Absolutely, and to include in that group is also our jailers, who deal with a lot on a daily basis with our inmates as well.
So I was actually just looking at the Lawrence County Jail information. I was trying actually to find out like the age of it and stuff, but I'll be honest, man, I was out on my bike today instead of prepping for the show like I should have been, so I didn't get the information. I've been dying for some decent weather. It's been rainy up here. It's been cold. If it's a nice day, then it rains. If it's if it stops raining, then it's freezing. So I don't have the information I normally do. But let me ask you this. In LaPorte County, which I'm familiar with, we have an old jail. It's going to need to be rebuilt soon. Do you know how old the jail is there and if it's going to need to be rebuilt anytime in the near future?
Well, they built it approximately mid-90s, and they didn't maintain it. No administration has ever maintained it.
Okay.
So they brought a study in, They brought a study in this year, actually, that came back and said that it might be a good idea to build a new one, and they've seen that cost to be somewhere around $46 to $50 million to build a new jail here in Lawrence County.
Yeah.
They have an entire third floor on the jail here that they don't even use.
Okay.
It's like a closet. It's got a bunch of trash in it and storage and stuff like that. So my recommendation, if I was to win sheriff, is that we clear out that third floor and we start utilizing it, number one.
Okay.
Number two, we can look at ways to repair the jail that we currently have and start maintaining it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a candidate that supports spending $50 million of taxpayer money for a new jail that I already know they're not going to maintain. They've proven that over the last 30 years, and I don't intend to support that avenue. Do we have issues with our jail? Yes. Do we need to repair it? Yes. Why we're not looking at that avenue is beyond me. I'm being told that it's that you can't buy parts for it anymore. They have to be hand manufactured at a company here locally. It's the only way to get things to fix it. I don't agree with that. I think they're not looking hard enough because they're just wanting to give this current couple companies some money.
Right.
So I want to look at ways to repair our jail, get it back up to maintenance to where it's supposed to be, and clear out that third floor, start utilizing it. But just to add to it really quick, the number one reason they wanted a new jail is because they claim overpopulation. We have too many people in our jail. But the problem with that is when we start getting rid of the victimless crime and stop putting them in the jail and start utilizing the programs that we have available, like house arrest or probation or community corrections, and we start working with the courts to get these people into services to help them, then we won't have to worry about that overpopulation because they won't be in the county jail. So that's the number one piece.
So let me ask you this, because we have had up here in Northwest Indiana, we have a prosecutor in a neighboring, well, not neighboring, but a very close county, let's just say that, who does not prosecute cannabis crimes. They stop prosecuting them. They may issue like a recognizance bond and tell them to show up for court. And by the time they show up, it gets dropped or tossed, right? But that's the prosecutor. The sheriff's department still has to make the stop. They still have to make the arrest. Do you worry about getting yourself in trouble by stopping any kind of, because the prosecutor is the one who actually issues the warrants for that. Do you worry about some sort of legal problem with stopping the low-level crime,
well,
sorry.
One of the things is that I'll use the ACLU for an example. Just
Yeah,
for example. If you go to the ACLU's website, it'll tell you that the sheriff has the power to not incarcerate people on misdemeanor crimes. Okay. He has the power to stop that from happening. The other piece of it is that I told another organization that if I'm elected, one of the first things I'll do immediately is hire a constitutional attorney to be able to represent me as the sheriff. And we're going to sit down and we're going to look at where the line is. Is there a line that I'm getting close to? Am I going to break the law if I'm not willing to Bedford police arrest somebody for marijuana, they bring him to the jail and I say, nope, they're not going in there. Am I breaking the law? The answer is real clear. It's no. Okay. But I will get a constitutional attorney to represent us on that. And we will do what we can to stand our ground and make sure that we're protecting the people and from being in non-violent victimless crime should not be incarcerated in jail. Those jails are designed for violent criminals. And that's what we need to make sure we're utilizing it for. Okay. So I will do what I can to make sure that we are staying within the Constitution. That's the biggest piece of it.
Okay. But just to clarify, the people that go out and hurt other people, those people are still going to jail.
That is correct.
Okay. 100%. I just want to make sure. Yeah. Because
I will chase after the methamphetamine dealers. I will go after the opioid dealers. I will go after drunk driving. I will go after any operating while intoxicated. I will do all of that. I will go after the murderers, the rapists, and all that. But what I won't do is I will not spend my time and resources and government and taxpayer money on focusing on finding the guy with the joint in his car like they do every single day. I'm over that. It's time to end it. Hoosiers want it legal. And it's going to take sheriffs and prosecutors to get on board across this state to make it happen because Eric Holcomb's not going to make it happen. No. As you said earlier, he's waiting for the federal government to do their job. Right. I don't even believe if the federal government legalized the MORE Act today, I don't believe Eric Holcomb would keep his word on that. I think he would say, well, it's going to take a couple more years and we're going to look into researching and see if it's good for Hoosiers. Then we'll make a decision.
Right. Well, let's bear in mind, yes. And for people who have never seen my show before, or not before, but when I ran and was doing videos on a daily basis, yes, I am a Republican candidate for Indiana legislator. That doesn't mean I agree with every Republican in office. That doesn't mean that unlike some people, I will actually tell you, I don't think he's made good choices. I don't support many of the things. And one of the things that I don't support is the fact that Indiana is still behind the times. I live in Northwest Indiana. I live in Michigan City. And we are less than 10 miles from the Michigan border where it's legal. We are less than an hour away from the Illinois border where it's legal. We're missing out. Forget everything else. We are missing out on tons and tons of money. The cannabis market in Illinois and Michigan, hundreds of millions of dollars every year in taxes that Hoosiers could enjoy. I mean, forget
the United States brought in over $2.5 billion in tax revenue in the legal states last year. Yeah. And in almost every state that has legal use, they bring in several hundred, $300 to $400 million a year in tax revenue. Mm-hmm. So like when you like go back to your original questions, if you had the money to do this or whatever, we would have the money to be able to do the job we need to do as law enforcement if the state would just do its job to give the Hoosiers what they've requested. Right. 37, 40, whatever it is, states have already legalized it. They know it's legal, and that's something else that I'm going to do as sheriff. I mentioned to the Indiana Normal once that I'm going. If I'm elected sheriff, I want my deputies to sit down on a Zoom call and talk with sheriffs and their deputies in these legal states and see what they've done since the states have became legal and how they can work with the people to make it right here. Right. And they can also hear from patients and hear from those states that this helped me and this is what it did. So that way we can break that stigma that law enforcement officers in Indiana have.
Right. Right. I wholeheartally agree. The people have spoken. Every poll that they have in the state of Indiana is overwhelmingly in favor of legalization. Overwhelmingly, not a small amount, not a tiny majority there. We're talking 60%, usually up to 70, 80% of people polled want it legalized in the state. And that's not even taking into account the massive number of veterans and disabled that could benefit from the medicinal use. you and I are on the same page on that, so we're not gonna spend a bunch of time on that because seems like we agree. But let me ask you this. So you said before about you work, if this is a wrong term, let me know. It's kind of like a bounty hunter, right? Is what you do.
Indiana calls it a fugitive recovery agent. Some states call it a bounty hunter. Some states actually outlaw the term bounty hunter. Okay. But I'm the director of the Interstate Bail Enforcement Apprehension Taskforce. We travel the entire country. I've been to Alaska, California. I've been everywhere. And we search and seek out and find the fugitives that have skipped out on bail and bring them into custody. Now, the good thing about my job is I get to pick which cases I work. I don't go after nonviolent criminals. So.
Okay. You know what? That's you. Yeah, see, you got me there. No, what I was going to ask is, I assume, here's the thing is, yeah, I'm sure that some people mess up. They get arrested. They have a court date they don't show up for, and it's some silly charge, FTA, failure to appear, or something like that. But when someone commits a heinous crime and then make bail, or they're being sought out, that's really what you're about. You're about getting the truly dangerous people off the street, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Just so everyone understands, we're not talking about little piddly stuff here. And you mentioned you go all across the country. This isn't just something that you do locally. This is a big operation. This is a
full team.
A full team. Okay. Are there a lot of these teams, or is this like kind of an umbrella type under a different organization? I don't know how it's structured.
Yeah. So. No, there's people in every state that, besides a few of them that have outlawed fugitive recovery work or any type of bail bonds work. But there's people in all different states that do it. This is my team. I created it 5 years ago almost. There's 4 of us on this team, and I have about 8 of them in the background that I can call in at a moment's notice if needed as well. So it's a full unit team that goes out and travels, and we spend a lot of our time in Tennessee. We're there probably 1 week per month in Tennessee serving warrants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They have about 40 to 60 open warrants daily there in one specific county. So we go there and we help the bail agents there that are losing their money and their businesses because these people are skipping out, and they're having to pay the court for that. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, how bonds really, truly, deeply work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of things. And that actually brings me to my question here. Want to make sure I get it right, because I think it's a really important question, if I can find it. First of all, I'm going to ask this because I'm pretty damn sure I know where you stand on this, but I got to ask it anyway. If the federal government outlawed certain types or models of firearms, i.e. so-called assault rifles, and demanded that they be seized, would you go door to door confiscating citizens' firearms?
No. I'm a true believer in the Constitution. I believe the Second Amendment was put in place for us to have arms, and I could not stand for an unjust law. I will not uphold an unconstitutional law. I will not force citizens to give over their guns. They're going to have to come take mine first.
Good. Okay. Here it is. Okay. What is a common misconception that you found people have about the sheriff, deputies, or the department itself?
A common misconception that people have about law enforcement?
Yeah, law enforcement in general, but
Where could I start? Well, unfortunately, law enforcement was about being a public servant and helping the community. But there's still a lot of people today that have that misconception. They think that the law enforcement still works that way, but they don't.
Right.
They took that out years ago. They don't even put that on their car anymore. So we've got to educate people on what's happening in this country right now, how these law enforcement officers are working across this country. So I think the biggest misconception is people think that they're all public servants, and they're not. And we need to get people elected that's going to get them back to that.
I agree. So I think a lot of people, I've actually found that there are many people that are surprised when I talk about the Supreme Court decision that found that law enforcement officers do not have a duty to protect. That was absolutely incredible to me, jaw-dropping even when it came down, and when you really understand. And it started, I believe, and you may know more about it than I do, but it started, I believe, from a what was it, like a protective order or something? This lady had taken a protective order out, and the police basically didn't arrest him, didn't stop him. He came in. He really hurt her, may have taken her life. I'm not sure. But there was a case that was started for that, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court found that law enforcement entities do not have a duty to intervene. They investigate crimes. They can arrest people post-crime, but they do not have a duty to intervene. And if you really stop and give that some thought, it's kind of terrifying, and it really solidifies why the Second Amendment is so critical in this country.
And I'd absolutely agree with you 100% on that, Dion. The conception that the Supreme Court thinks that it's not the officer's duty to intervene. If there's a protective order placed against somebody because of fear of her life, mm-hmm. and she's calling saying, "Hey, I need your help. I got somebody. He's violating the protective order. He's coming at me right now. He's going to hurt me." I mean, we need to send our law enforcement agencies to that location immediately to protect her.
Right.
A prime example that with you saying that, an elderly gentleman was at a barbershop here in town just a couple weeks ago, and he's a truck driver.
Okay.
And he said he was in Las Vegas unloading his truck when his wife called him on the cell phone and said, "Hey, a drug addict just walked into our home here in Bedford in Lawrence County, walked into our home. He's sitting on our couch." So he hangs up the phone with her and says, "I will call you right back. You stay in the room." He hangs up the phone. He knew if he dialed 911, it would reach Las Vegas PD,
right,
or the county there. So he contacted Lawrence County Sheriff's Department by direct line. He called him directly, and they answered the phone. He told him what was going on, gave him his address. They said, "Okay, yeah, we'll have a law enforcement over there in just a second."
Okay.
So he calls his wife back. He's on the phone. He's like, "Let me know as soon as the cops roll in. Don't hang up with me."
Yeah.
Minute went by, another minute went by, another minute went by, another minute went by. Never had a cop pull in the driveway. Never came by the house or nothing. So he's like, "Hon, I'm gonna call him back. Hold on a minute." So he switches over, and I guess he called him on three-way or however he did it. But he calls him back, and he's like, "I don't understand why there ain't a cop at my house. There's somebody in the home. She thinks he's under the influence of drugs or something. He looks violent. Why is there not a law enforcement officer at my house already? You said you were sending one." They said, "Oh, we thought this was a joke."
What? Oh my goodness.
And
that's absolutely insane.
After they realized he was telling the truth, because he's calling for her. He's not home. He told them where he was. So They thought it was a joke and just didn't send anybody. And there's a problem I have as well. So.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that's an absolute issue.
So I guess that went back to they're not there to protect people.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. That's mind blowing that they can just yeah, that sounds like a crank call to me, Johnny. Just kick back, man. I'd hate to have to get my feet off the desk. What shift structure do you support? Do you know what they currently have right now? Like, are they on 8s? Are they on 12s?
They're on 8s. They switch every shift, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Are they like swing shifts, or do they have like a set schedule? Do you know offhand?
Offhand, no, I don't know exactly if they do any type of swing shifts, but I know that they have their set schedule to work so many days. But they also can help out in all those other days.
Do you support keeping it like it is, or do you think they should go to like 12s? Or
well, I'm all in favor of a 4-day work week if it's possible, or maybe even going to 12-hour days. But what I want to do is sit down with my deputies and with my staff and say, what would work for you? What can we do to make this job easier, to make it better for you? Shift wise, give me your ideas. Then we can sit down and we can actually come up with a plan to make it work for each officer if we can.
Okay. Awesome. One of the last questions I got for you is trying to think of how to word this, so I don't know what they use down there, but like up here we have the Ford, what is it? The Explorer, the Escape. I don't know, the little Ford SUV that they have up here.
The Explorer.
Yeah, they have that, and then they have the Charger, and there's a couple of really old Crown Vics still rolling around. What vehicle do you support for the department, and how passionate are you about making sure you guys can get
I mean, honestly, I just need one that's going to be safe for my deputies, one that's going to be able to get across the terrain. I'm not in a position to say I'm for a Ford Explorer versus a Dodge Durango or a Charger versus a Taurus.
Right.
But I mean, we can get them smart cars to save on fuel, and then we'll have a couple, cars. I'm just joking when I say that.
Yeah, make sure you let people know, because oh my goodness, like
I'm joking when I say smart cars, but I mean in general, I'm not
I've seen departments that have gotten these things, and it is one of the most ridiculous, absolutely non-threatening things I have ever seen. It is more likely to make someone laugh than run. I guess that's the upside of it. So when you pull up on them in your little, beep beep, that they just fall to the ground laughing instead of take off. I guess that's the point. I don't know. It's absolutely mind blowing that someone that not only this was thought of, come up with as an idea, was presented and made it all the way to where they actually are driving these things around. It's anyway.
Yeah, I think the cars in general are probably dangerous a little bit, but I don't know much about them. I've never drove one.
Yeah.
I was making a joke when I said I'd have them drive them, but I mean, the point of that is that I'm not in favoritism of a certain vehicle. What I want to know what vehicle is best suited for our officers that has the lowest amount of gas mileage, so that way we can save taxpayers on our fuel costs and be able to still do our job effectively the way we need to be able to do it.
Okay. One of the things that has been mentioned in previous candidate interviews for sheriff are ways that the county can save on fuel. Now, I don't know what they use. Do they use a fuel card in Lawrence County? Is it a particular gas station that they have to go to? Like in LaPorte County, it used to be there was a particular gas station that they had to go to. So even if they started service 25 miles away, they would have to drive, and LaPorte County is the second largest county in the state area-wise. So they would have to drive vast distances, almost an hour by the time you get there, fill up, and get back to start your shift. Do you know if they use gas cards or if there's a particular...
So we used to have one specific location that they did all of their fuel ups at.
Yeah.
That has ended over the last several years or so. Now they have gas cards that each officer has. And I think, if I'm not wrong, if it's a take-home vehicle, they pay a certain percentage of the fuel themselves because they take the vehicle home. And then the rest of it comes off the card in reference to from the county. Okay. So that's that answer in reference to, they did used to have one location. Now they can go anywhere and use that card.
Right. Okay. Are you in favor of take-home vehicles?
I am, but I'm not in favor of them taking them home and then outside the county and doing whatever they want with family trips. Okay. I want them to stay within this county, though. Right. So I am in favor of them having one at home, but it needs to stay in the home county. Okay.
All right. I think that's reasonable. I mean, what are you going to do with it outside the county anyway? It kind of loses a lot of its power once it's outside its jurisdiction. Like personally, I see like in Michigan City, for example, other than transports, because it happens, right? You got to transport from one county to another. But other than transports, there's no reason for someone in a Long Beach police car to be rolling around Michigan City all day. That's not the jurisdiction. What good are you doing?
No, I am in total agreement with you on that. I've even brought up some of that to law enforcement officers here in the county over the last decade. I've said that. They always give me the same answer. They all come from the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. They're certified by the state, not by the police department itself. So when they take that oath, they're an Indiana law enforcement officer. They just happen to work for Lawrence County, or they just happen to work for Bedford. So technically, they can make those stops anywhere in the state. Yeah. That's what the answer is always to me, but I don't agree with that. And I'm going to let my officers know. I'm not going to find out that they're 4 counties north of me pulling people over in our cars. They won't have that car anymore.
Fair enough. All right, man. We're getting to the end here, and my son's bothering me and wants to go out on the bike. We usually do about an hour. Let people know where they can learn more about you. I ran the banner, but I'm going to do it again for you. Is there anywhere else besides Facebook they should look to learn more about you, your campaign, what you stand for, give you some money, whatever?
Yeah, they can look me up on Facebook at my name. They can also look at Kinsner for Sheriff on Facebook. That's where as well. I'm working on a website, hopefully to have it rolled out in the next few weeks or so, maybe a little longer. We're working on that. As for donations wise, just reach out to me if they have a second and talk to me. I can get them that information. We have different ways of being able to do donations. So just reach out to me and I'll definitely get you all the information you need in reference to that. All
right. And if they have questions about where you stand on issues, you're more than happy to answer, right?
I am more than happy to answer. They can reach out to me on the Kinsner for Sheriff Facebook page and drop me their number or something. I will call them personally from my cell phone. My number's not going to change when I win sheriff. So I'll be handing out cards here in the next few months. I'll be handing out cards. It's going to have my cell phone number on it. That number will never change if I win sheriff. So you'll be able to reach me anytime while I'm working as sheriff as well here in the county. So they'll always have 100% access to me. I will never turn a person down. I may say, hey, hold on, give me just a minute. I'll call you right back because I might be in a meeting. But other than that, I'll take anyone's call.
All right. It was truly a pleasure meeting you. Hopefully after the primary, we can get you back on before the general starts. And good luck, man. I always love to see people put their name on the ballot, even though we may or may not agree on everything or share the same political party. I am always a fan of people who take that leap and put their name on the ballot because we need more true Americans to do that.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on here and speak with you and anyone watching and the people that may watch it later. I appreciate it. Just understand I really am probably the only constitutional, real, true sheriff's candidate in Lawrence County right now that will uphold the Constitution. And that's the most important piece.
All right, man. Thanks again for coming on. We appreciate your time. If you want to hang out for just a minute, I'll finish the show. And thank you again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Darin Kinsner, not Kinsner. I apologize to him for that. Damn it, Sean, what are you doing, man? Do your job. I might have to dock your non-existent pay. I'm kidding, obviously. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the reality is the sheriff is one of, if not the most important office in a county. They are the stop between government and the people. They are truly the last line of defense when it comes to federal overreach, when it comes to state overreach. So choose wisely. If you wanted to learn more about Darin Kinsner, he gave you all the information you need to get with him and learn more about him. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your time, for spending this time with me and with my guest. God bless you. God bless Indiana. And God bless the United States.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2022. Dion's Daily Dose. All rights reserved.